Admiral Valerie Knox was having the worst day of her career, which was really saying something for a woman whose military record included surviving 3 shipwrecks, 1 accidental missile launch, and the Great Pentagon Cafeteria disaster of 2031. As the highest-ranking naval officer currently on site at the United Nations, she'd somehow been roped into representing humanity's military might to the first confirmed alien visitors in human history. "Just stand there and look intimidating," the Secretary General had said, straightening Knox's already impeccable uniform. "Project strength but not aggression. Sir, with all due respect, I crashed a nuclear submarine into an aircraft carrier during a training exercise. I might not be the best choice for first contact." Nonsense. "That's exactly why you're perfect. You survived it, didn't you?" Now Knox stood rigid beside the world's hastily assembled diplomatic team as the massive view screen displayed the alien vessel, a gleaming structure that resembled what might happen if an origami artist had a psychotic break while folding a whale. "Receiving transmission," announced the communications officer, sweat beading on his forehead. The screen flickered, revealing a being that looked disturbingly like a cross between a praying mantis and a chandelier. It spoke in perfect BBC-accented English. "I am Lord Krell of the Galactic Hegemony. Your primitive detection systems have likely been tracking our approach for the past 72 of your hours. We have come to formally incorporate your world into our dominion." The Secretary General stepped forward with practiced diplomatic poise. "On behalf of Earth, we welcome you and hope to establish peaceful." Silence. Lord Krell's mandibles clicked dismissively. "This is not a negotiation. The hegemony has assessed your species and found you woefully inadequate for true partnership. Your technology is rudimentary. Your political structures are chaotic. Your military capabilities are laughable." Knox felt her eye twitch. "We offer standardized terms, immediate surrender, cultural assimilation, and resource allocation at our discretion. You have 24 hours to formally capitulate, after which we will commence cleansing protocols." The diplomats exchanged horrified glances. "Perhaps," the Secretary General tried again, "we could discuss." "Discussion period has concluded," Krell announced. "As a gesture of magnanimity, we will send a delegation to your primitive assembly to collect your surrender. Prepare a reception according to your customs." The transmission cut off. "Well," said Knox dryly, "that went well." 12 hours later, the UN General Assembly had been transformed into a reception hall for the alien delegation. World leaders sat in nervous clusters, military personnel lined the walls, and media representatives jostled for position despite strict limitations. Knox had been positioned directly behind the Secretary General's chair, where she could see everything but wasn't expected to speak. Perfect. The doors swung open, and a procession of mantis-like aliens glided in, Lord Krell at the front, flanked by guards whose exoskeletons gleamed with embedded technology. They moved with unsettling precision, like a ballet troupe with too many limbs. "We await your formal acceptance of our terms," Lord Krell announced without preamble. "Our analysis indicates your species lacks the unity, technology, and strategic thinking required for significant resistance." The Secretary General rose, clutching a folder that contained Earth's hastily drafted response, a delicate blend of stalling tactics and subtle implications that perhaps humans weren't quite as helpless as they appeared. What happened next would later be described by 17 different eyewitnesses in 17 completely contradictory ways. Dave Hernandez, a maintenance worker who had been fixing an HVAC issue, emerged from a service door carrying a tray of coffee for the human delegates. He didn't see the security cordon. He didn't notice the alien delegation. He was simply trying to do his job, right up until he tripped over an exposed cable from a news camera. The coffee tray went airborne in what Knox would later describe as the most majestic display of accidental fluid dynamics I've ever witnessed. 8 cups of scalding hot coffee described a perfect arc through the air before raining down upon Lord Krell and his entourage. The aliens' reaction was instantaneous and horrifying. Their exoskeletons began to bubble and smoke. They emitted a high-pitched keening that shattered glass throughout the chamber. Lord Krell, drenched in Colombian dark roast, thrashed wildly, knocking over the Secretary General and 3 security guards. "Treachery!" shrieked one of the alien guards. "Chemical warfare." Knox, operating on pure instinct, tackled Dave to the ground as the alien guards raised weapons that hummed with ominous energy. "Return to the ship. Krell commanded, still writhing. Initiate assessment phase immediately. The aliens retreated in disarray, leaving behind a scene of chaos, broken glass, spilled coffee, and bewildered world leaders. Dave looked up at Knox with terror in his eyes. I am so fired, aren't I? Whoa. What? Kid, she replied, helping him to his feet. You just declared war on behalf of the entire human race. Getting fired is the least of your worries. The Hegemony's assessment phase began in textbook fashion, at least according to their textbook, which hadn't been updated since they conquered the Zygonians, a species whose idea of advanced warfare was throwing slightly larger rocks than their opponents. Surveillance probes descended into Earth's atmosphere, designed to map infrastructure, analyze military capabilities, and identify command centers. The Hegemony's battle computers hummed with anticipation, ready to compile the data into a comprehensive conquest strategy. Meanwhile, in Newark, New Jersey, Logan Murphy was having a spectacularly bad morning. His garbage truck had broken down en route, his supervisor wasn't answering calls, and now some weird metal orb was hovering over his truck, emitting a purple scanning beam. Hey, Murphy shouted, throwing an empty soda can at the probe. You with the city inspection? I already filed the maintenance report. The probe, programmed to ignore primitive creatures unless they presented a threat, continued its scan until the aluminum construct its sensitive sensor array. This triggered its rudimentary defense protocol, a mild electrical discharge designed to deter wildlife. The spark hit Murphy's truck near the leaking fuel line. The resulting explosion wasn't large as explosions go, but it was precisely the wrong kind of explosion in precisely the wrong place at precisely the wrong time. The probe, caught in the fireball, spiraled into the nearby electrical substation. Across the eastern seaboard, power grids fluctuated wildly as the alien technology interfaced catastrophically with human infrastructure. 17 more probes malfunctioned when their communication network went haywire. 3 crash-landed in the Hudson River. 1 veered off course and embedded itself in a billboard advertising discount mattresses. Aboard the Hegemony mothership, the surveillance director stared in disbelief at the screens showing static where probe data should be streaming. Impossible, she muttered. They can't have countermeasures this sophisticated. Captain Drelna, head of the first invasion wave, chittered nervously. Perhaps they were waiting for us? A trap? Lord Krell, still recovering from the coffee incident in a healing chamber, could only watch the confusion unfold. Deploy second-wave probes with enhanced shields and identify that brown liquid weapon they deployed earlier. My exoskeleton still hasn't fully regenerated. While the aliens regrouped, Earth's governments were in various states of panic. Emergency sessions convened worldwide. Military forces were mobilized with no clear idea of what they were meant to do. The UN Security Council debated endlessly while watching the alien ship hover menacingly over international waters. What none of them knew was that humanity's first effective countermeasure was already underway, orchestrated not by generals or politicians, but by millions of ordinary citizens who had absolutely no idea what they were doing. Murphy, having escaped the explosion with nothing worse than singed eyebrows, had snapped a photo of the probe before it crashed. That photo was now circulating on social media with the caption, "Weird government drone crashed my truck. Not paying for damages? Alien invasion? Not my fault." The post went viral in minutes. By the time the Hegemony deployed their second wave of probes, humans worldwide were on the lookout. Amateur radio operators jammed frequencies on a lark. Teenagers pointed lasers at suspicious objects in the sky. And conspiracy theorists who had been preparing for this moment their entire lives activated homemade EMP devices that mostly just knocked out their own electronics but occasionally got lucky. This makes no sense, the surveillance director reported. They have no unified defense system, no coordinated response. Yet our probes are failing at an unprecedented rate. It's as if their entire planet is booby-trapped with random, illogical hazards. Lord Krell's mandibles clicked in frustration. Continue the assessment. We have conquered 1,412 species. We will not be thwarted by creatures who haven't even achieved basic interplanetary travel. The surveillance director nodded, though her compound eyes betrayed her uncertainty. Yes, my lord. Though there is one other anomaly. We're detecting an unusual concentration of communications about coffee beans. Professor Theodora Theo Rodriguez had not slept in 36 hours, and it showed. Her lab at MIT was littered with empty energy drink cans, half-eaten protein bars, and dozens of samples collected from the alien probe that had conveniently crashed into the campus duck pond. Eureka! She shouted to her team of bleary-eyed graduate students. "I've figured it out." "The alien's weakness?" asked a hopeful student. "No. Why my ex-wife left me," Theo replied sarcastically. "Yes, the alien's weakness. Look at this cellular structure. Their exoskeletons contain compounds similar to chitin but with metallic elements. When exposed to certain Earth substances, they undergo an explosive catalytic reaction." She pointed to a monitor showing microscopic footage of alien cells fizzing violently. "Is that coffee?" "Coffee, chocolate, citrus fruits," Theo nodded frantically. "And, most importantly, capsaicin. These aliens are violently allergic to spicy food. So the most powerful weapons against an advanced galactic empire are Starbucks and Taco Bell?" "Precisely," Theo grinned maniacally. "I've already forwarded my findings to the military. Now I need a volunteer to help me weaponize sriracha sauce." While Professor Rodriguez worked on her culinary countermeasures, the Hegemony's reconnaissance teams were facing unprecedented challenges in the field. The alien scouts, disguised in what their cultural database suggested was inconspicuous human attire, which unfortunately resembled 1970s disco fashion crossed with Victorian morning wear, attempted to infiltrate human population centers to gather intelligence. In New York, a scout was arrested for public disturbance after standing motionless at a crosswalk for 7 hours, waiting for the walk signal while the sign was clearly malfunctioning. In Tokyo, another scout became trapped in a pachinko parlor for 3 days, its analytical systems overwhelmed by the seemingly random nature of the game combined with the sensory overload. In Rio de Janeiro, a scout that had been programmed to blend in by mimicking human behaviors ended up joining a conga line at a street festival and was last seen being carried away on the shoulders of enthusiastic dancers. The Hegemony's cultural analysts were baffled. Their extensive database contained records from over 1,000 conquered civilizations, none of which behaved so erratically. Humans followed no discernible patterns. They operated under contradictory rules. Their behavior couldn't be predicted by any algorithm. Meanwhile, human resistance was taking shape in the most human way possible, chaotically, inconsistently, but with boundless creativity. A teenager in Seoul, South Korea named Jin Park had modified his racing drone with parts salvaged from a crashed alien probe. The resulting hybrid device emitted signals that scrambled alien communications whenever it flew nearby. Jin had no idea why it worked, he just thought the alien tech looked cool attached to his drone. But videos of his alien jammer inspired copycat makers worldwide. On social media platforms, humans coordinated in ways the aliens couldn't track. Memes became code. Seemingly nonsensical hashtags conveyed rally points. TikTok dances mapped alien patrol routes. The Hegemony's advanced AI could break any encryption but remained utterly confounded by human inside jokes and pop culture references. "They're communicating through pictures of cats with misspelled captions," reported one frustrated analyst. "We've run them through every known cryptographic system. They make no sense, yet humans understand them instantly." "Have we identified their command structure?" demanded Lord Krell, now recovered enough to resume active duty. "That's just it, my lord. They don't seem to have one. Different regions follow different leaders. Some humans follow no leaders at all. Many actively oppose their own governing systems while simultaneously defending them against us. It's madness." "Every species has order," Krell insisted. "Find it. Exploit it. Prepare for the invasion phase." But even as he gave the order, another report came in. 17 more probes disabled by what appeared to be a worldwide water balloon fight that had been organized entirely through something called Reddit. Lord Krell's exoskeleton creaked as he clenched his appendages in frustration. This was supposed to be a routine conquest. Instead, he was being thwarted by caffeinated beverages and children's toys. The Hegemony had never faced such indignity. "Commence the invasion," he hissed. "Full tactical deployment. These humans lack strategy, technology, and unified purpose." They cannot stand against our military might. He had no idea how wrong he was. The Hegemony's battle plan was a masterpiece of tactical precision, the culmination of strategies refined across centuries of successful conquests. Their dropships descended toward Earth's major cities in perfect formation, weapon systems humming with deadly energy, targeting matrices locked onto key infrastructure nodes. The invasion of Earth was textbook perfect for exactly 7 minutes and 13 seconds. That's when it all went to hell. In London, a squadron of dropships found their navigation systems scrambled by the city's chaotic layout streets that followed cow paths from centuries ago, rather than any logical grid. 3 ships collided near Tower Bridge when their pathfinding algorithms encountered a roundabout. In Mumbai, the dense urban sprawl completely overwhelmed their sensors, causing targeting computers to crash and restart repeatedly. The ships hovered uselessly, unable to distinguish military targets from the kaleidoscopic confusion below. In Chicago, high winds off Lake Michigan, a weather pattern the aliens had dismissed as insignificant, tossed the lightweight craft like toys, sending them spiraling into one another. Captain Drelna, commanding the North American invasion force, watched in horror as her perfectly synchronized attack dissolved into chaos. "Report," she demanded, her mandibles clicking furiously. "The humans are employing some kind of disorganized defense," her tactical officer responded, bewilderment evident in his compound eyes. "They're not following any known combat doctrine." On the ground, humanity's response was indeed unlike anything the Hegemony had encountered in their long history of conquest. Professional military forces did engage, of course. Fighter jets scrambled, tanks rolled, soldiers deployed. But these organized responses were almost secondary to the spontaneous resistance that erupted everywhere. Construction workers in Dallas repositioned cranes to snag low-flying alien craft. Farmers in Ukraine used tractors to tow stranded dropships into ditches. Firefighters in Australia repurposed their equipment to spray the aliens with water which, thanks to Professor Rodriguez's widely circulated findings, everyone now knew caused painful reactions to alien exoskeletons. In Newark, Logan Murphy had graduated from sanitation worker to resistance leader through a series of accidents and misunderstandings. After his encounter with the probe, he'd become something of a local celebrity. Now he found himself directing a motley crew of garbage collectors, postal workers, and bus drivers in a campaign to barricade streets with trash trucks and redirect the aliens into ambushes. "This isn't how war works." Captain Drelna screamed at her tactical display. "Where are their formations? Their command centers? Why are these civilians fighting with garden implements and kitchen utensils?" The answer, which the Hegemony's war computers struggled to process, was simple. Humans didn't know how interplanetary war was supposed to work. So they fought however they could, with whatever they had. Every human had different ideas, different methods, different approaches. Some threw stones while others hacked alien communications. Some fled while others charged forward. The Hegemony's strategic algorithms, designed to counter organized opposition, found no patterns to exploit, no weaknesses to target. A particularly humiliating defeat came when an alien walker unit, a 6-legged combat platform bristling with advanced weaponry, was disabled in suburban Ohio by a lawn sprinkler system activated by a timer. The water shorted out its electrical systems, and neighborhood kids promptly decorated the inactive machine with toilet paper and glitter. By the end of the first day, the Hegemony had lost 30% of their invasion force without securing a single objective. Lord Krell demanded explanations that his subordinates couldn't provide. "It's as if we're fighting billions of different enemies rather than one species," Captain Drelna finally admitted. "We can't predict them because they don't predict themselves." "That's absurd," Krell hissed. "No species can function without coordination," yet the evidence was undeniable. Humanity's greatest defensive asset was proving to be their stubborn individuality, billions of humans making billions of decisions, creating a chaotic system too complex for even the Hegemony's vaunted predictive engines to map. The invasion that should have been completed in hours had stalled completely. And worse was yet to come. Admiral Knox stood in the hastily established war room beneath the Pentagon, staring at reports streaming in from around the globe. After the initial shock, Earth's military forces were adapting with remarkable speed, but not in the way anyone had anticipated. "Ma am," her aide reported. we're getting requests from civilian tech companies. They've been analyzing the alien tech from downcraft and want authorization to implement unorthodox countermeasures. Define unorthodox, Knox said warily. Well, Amazon wants to repurpose their delivery drones to deploy Professor Rodriguez's capsaicin bombs. A gaming company in Japan has reprogrammed their VR headsets to detect alien cloaking fields. And apparently, a consortium of Hollywood special effects studios has created convincing holographic projections of Earth's cities to confuse alien targeting systems. Knox blinked. Approve them all. At this point, I'm willing to try anything. The anything-goes approach was bearing fruit worldwide. Humans, it turned out, excelled at taking unfamiliar technology and repurposing it in ways its creators never intended. The hegemony's precision instruments became humanity's chaotic tools. Logan Murphy had made perhaps the most significant breakthrough entirely by accident. While scavenging components from a downed alien shuttle, he'd inadvertently activated its communication system by connecting it to a karaoke machine he'd found in the same wreckage. The aliens had been collecting human artifacts for study. The resulting feedback loop broadcast all hegemony tactical frequencies across open channels. Suddenly, resistance groups worldwide could hear alien communications. The hegemony, accustomed to information superiority, found their movements telegraphed in advance. Meanwhile, Professor Rodriguez had transformed her laboratory into a biological warfare center, though not the kind any military would recognize. Her team was mass-producing what she called the triple threat: aerosol canisters containing a mixture of coffee extract, hot pepper essence, and cat dander, which, it turned out, contained a protein that acted as a powerful neurotoxin to the alien nervous system. It smells like a barista having a mental breakdown in a Mexican restaurant, one graduate student complained, but it works. Within days, the triple threat had been distributed globally, deployed by everything from crop dusters to fire extinguishers to modified cologne bottles. Alien ground forces found themselves retreating from areas they had previously secured, their combat effectiveness degraded by what they reported as atmospheric contamination. What truly turned the tide, however, was humanity's greatest superpower: adapting their enemy's technology faster than the enemy could adapt to humanity. In Silicon Valley, tech companies reverse-engineered alien computer systems, discovering weaknesses that even the hegemony didn't know existed. In South Korean electronics factories, captured alien weapons were mass-produced with human modifications often less technically advanced but far more creative in application. At a pivotal battle in the skies over Brazil, pilots flew conventional jets equipped with jury-rigged alien shield technology, rendering them nearly invulnerable to hegemony energy weapons. The alien commanders, following standard protocol, continued firing the ineffective weapons rather than adapting their tactics, resulting in a rout. Aboard the mothership, Lord Krell watched in disbelief as his invasion force disintegrated. Dropships were returning damaged or not returning at all. Ground forces reported being overwhelmed not by superior firepower but by sheer unpredictability. "This defies all logic," he muttered, mandibles twitching uncontrollably. "How can they be winning? They have no strategy." Captain Drillna, once his most loyal officer, now gazed at him with compound eyes that reflected something the hegemony rarely experienced: doubt. "Perhaps, my lord," she suggested carefully, "that is their strategy." 1 month after the hegemony's ignominious retreat from Earth orbit, Lord Krell stood before the Grand Council, his once gleaming exoskeleton now permanently discolored from his exposure to coffee during first contact. "You mean to tell us," the Grand Counselor's voice boomed through the chamber, "that your fleet, the 17th Battle Group of the hegemony, conquerors of 1,000 worlds, was defeated by a species that hasn't even colonized its own solar system?" Krell's mandibles drooped in shame. "The humans are not like other species we have encountered. They lack unified purpose yet fight with singular determination. They have inferior technology yet adapt with alarming speed. They have no grand strategy yet prevailed through. Through what, Lord Krell?" The Grand Counselor leaned forward. "Through chaos," Krell whispered. "Glorious, unpredictable chaos." The council chambers erupted in chittering discussion. Finally, the Grand Counselor raised a limb for silence. "Based on your report and the evaluation of our xenobiologists, we have no choice but to classify humans as an extinction-level chaotic species." All hegemony forces are hereby ordered to maintain a minimum safe distance of 5 light-years from Earth. Further contact is prohibited without full council approval. As Krell left the chamber, stripped of his title and military rank, he wondered how he would be remembered in hegemony history. The commander who discovered coffee, perhaps, or the fool who tried to impose order on the unorderable. Meanwhile, Earth was experiencing an unprecedented renaissance. Reverse-engineered alien technology accelerated human development by centuries. More significantly, the brief war had united humanity in ways no peacetime effort ever had. Nations that had been enemies for generations now collaborated on interstellar defense systems and exploration initiatives. Earth's first diplomatic contact with non-hegemony alien species came just 6 months after the invasion. The Zith Collective, a federation of worlds that had long resisted hegemony expansion, had sent representatives to establish relations with the only other known species to have successfully repelled a full-scale invasion. "We have observed your victory with great interest," the Zith ambassador told a UN assembly. "For 10,000 cycles, the hegemony has expanded unchecked. Many believed them invincible. You have proven otherwise." The ambassador, a being resembling an elegant blue octopus floating in a transparent globe, extended a tentacle toward Admiral Knox, who had been appointed Earth's interim representative for extraterrestrial affairs. "The galaxy has long needed a species like yours, adaptable, unpredictable, and just chaotic enough to disrupt the hegemony's perfect order. We offer alliance, trade, and cultural exchange." That evening, Admiral Knox, Logan Murphy, and Professor Rodriguez found themselves sharing a table at a bar near the UN headquarters, 3 unlikely heroes from very different walks of life. To chaos, Knox proposed a toast, raising her glass. To dumb luck, Murphy added with a grin. To coffee and hot sauce, Rodriguez concluded, clinking her glass against theirs. Around them, the bar was filled with humans and Zith delegates attempting to learn each other's customs. A Zith was trying to operate a dartboard while humans were cautiously sampling blue luminescent beverages. "You know what's funny?" Murphy mused, watching the interspecies mingling. "None of us had any idea what we were doing, and that's exactly why we won." Knox smiled ruefully. 8 billion stubborn maniacs, each doing their own thing. No wonder the aliens couldn't figure us out. We can barely figure ourselves out. "That's humanity's superpower," Rodriguez said, ordering another round. "We're predictably unpredictable." Outside the bar, the night sky looked much the same as it always had, stars twinkling in familiar patterns. But humanity now knew those stars held both threats and allies, civilizations and wonders beyond imagination. And throughout the galaxy, a new phrase was entering the lexicons of 100 alien cultures.